Behind the virtuous facade of perfectionism lies a deep and often misunderstood fear, the fear of one's own power. We have been taught to believe that being a perfectionist is a sign of discipline, an unwavering commitment to excellence. Society applauds those who demand the best, who are never satisfied, who refine every detail to the point of exhaustion. But what if this is just a well-constructed illusion? What if this relentless pursuit is not a strength, but a masked weakness? An unconscious strategy to avoid facing our true potential. According to the pioneer of analytical psychology, Carl Gustav Jung, perfectionism is not a virtue at all, but can represent a sophisticated and diabolical mechanism of self-sabotage. To navigate the complex social world, our mind creates masks, or personas, to hide the parts of ourselves we are afraid to show the world or ourselves. Perfectionism is one of the most effective and socially accepted masks. It is an impeccable facade, a shining armor that protects us not only from external judgment, but more importantly, from the terror of taking full responsibility for our own inner greatness. Consider someone who dreams of writing a book, launching a business, or composing music. They spend years studying, planning, perfecting their technique, and accumulating knowledge. Yet, they never truly begin. There is always one more detail to fix, another course to take, one last theory to learn. In this context, perfectionism has nothing to do with the quality of the final result. It is entirely a matter of fear. The fear of failure is certainly present, but beneath it lies an even more abyssal and paralyzing fear, the fear of success. As Jung observed, success forces us to confront the painful reality that we could have done much more, much sooner. Success strips us of every alibi. Perfectionism, therefore, generates a state of elegant paralysis. We appear busy, constantly working to improve something, but in reality, we are evading the most dangerous and powerful question of all. What am I truly capable of? The answer to this question is both magnificent and terrifying. Discovering our own power means facing the time we have lost, the opportunities wasted under the convenient excuse of waiting for the perfect moment. Above all, it means accepting the responsibility that comes with our own strength. Jung believed that our shadow, the unconscious and disowned part of our psyche, holds not only our flaws and fears, but also our repressed desires and our unrecognized greatness. To keep this greatness hidden and avoid having to answer for it, we create socially laudable justifications. It is far easier and more comfortable to say, "I haven't started yet because I want it to be perfect," than to admit the naked truth. I haven't started because I am terrified of what I might become if I succeed. Ultimately, perfection is not the path to freedom, but the most beautiful and gilded of prisons. From a Jungian perspective, perfectionism is a psychic mechanism designed to protect the ego, our conscious self-awareness, from the overwhelming power that emerges from the unconscious. While we are obsessed with perfecting a detail, we are not taking real risks, not exposing ourselves. This obsession feeds the persona, the social mask we wear to gain approval and feel safe. Behind this flawless shield lies the shadow. But it is crucial to repeat that the shadow is not just a repository for our flaws or our negative tendencies. It also contains our most brilliant talents, our unexpressed creative potential, our most authentic life force. Many perfectionists are not just fleeing from mistakes. They are fleeing from a level of success so vast it would require a radical change in their entire lives. This unused psychic energy, compressed and denied, does not simply vanish. It transforms, turns against us, and manifests as chronic anxiety, merciless self-criticism, frustration, and a perpetual sense of dissatisfaction. The more of a perfectionist someone becomes, the more unhappy and empty they often feel, because the psyche demands expression, and perfectionism is a gilded cage that suffocates it. But why is our own power so frightening? Because personal power carries an immense burden of responsibility. Acknowledging our true potential means confronting the time we have wasted using the excuse of imperfection. It means having no more alibis for inaction. Jung taught that our deeper self, the center of the psyche, constantly calls us to realize our unique potential, a process he called individuation. This process, however, is inherently uncomfortable. It forces us out of our comfort zone, challenges our limiting beliefs, and makes us visible. For many, it is simply safer to remain small, anonymous, and less exposed. Society, moreover, while claiming to value genius, can also punish those who stand out too much with envy, hostility, and isolation. This fear of our own freedom and greatness is profoundly paradoxical. We desire it ardently, yet at the same time, we seek protection from it. Perfectionism thus becomes the perfect alibi for staying small. To fully understand this trap, we must delve deeper into the concept of the shadow. The shadow is everything we do not want to be, but are. For the perfectionist, this includes not only fear and insecurity, but also grand talents that were repressed because they were perceived as too threatening or demanding. Repressing the shadow does not make it disappear. On the contrary, it makes it more powerful and autonomous, capable of influencing us unconsciously. Perfectionism is a defense mechanism to keep the shadow locked away, but in reality, the perfectionist is controlled by the fear that resides right there. It is a prison wall built with bricks of excellence. Within it dwells not only the fear of failure, but the even greater terror of hitting the mark perfectly. Success means launching into the world without a shield, dealing with the expectations of others and oneself, and acknowledging that the time spent hiding was a precious waste. This repressed life force does not just vanish. It manifests physically and psychologically as panic attacks, generalized anxiety, chronic procrastination, and psychosomatic illnesses. The shadow silently sabotages our every step, while we maintain the illusion of simply waiting for the right moment. The psychological cost of this pattern is devastating. It leads to psychic stagnation, a state of constant exhaustion even when doing nothing concrete, because the energy is entirely consumed in the internal conflict. It fuels a relentless inner critic, where small mistakes are magnified into catastrophes, eroding self-esteem. But perhaps the highest cost is existential. Even when they achieve external success, perfectionists often feel an inner emptiness, a sense of fraud, the feeling of living below their potential. This mindset creates a toxic relationship with failure, hindering learning, growth, and creativity. It also damages interpersonal relationships, as impossible standards are projected onto partners, friends, and colleagues, generating loneliness and resentment. However, Jung firmly believed there is a way out. The solution is not to destroy perfectionism, but to transform it. For Jung, symptoms are messages from the unconscious. Perfectionism is a brutal invitation to discover an essential truth. An inner power is being suffocated. The path forward is what he called individuation, the process of integrating all parts of the psyche, including the shadow. The goal is not to eliminate the desire for excellence, but to free it from the fear that paralyzes it. This begins with the courage to look at the shadow and ask, what am I avoiding by seeking perfection? It requires accepting imperfection as a part of growth. Freedom is born the moment you accept that your first draft will have flaws, that your first attempt may fail, and that's okay. True creativity resides in that space of imperfection. Intellectually understanding this is not enough. Action is required. Here are some concrete practices to break the cycle. First, act before you are ready. Launch the project. Finish the draft. Your true self emerges through action, not contemplation. Second, set hard limits for preparation. Give yourself an uncomfortable deadline and commit to starting. Perfection isn't found in endless planning, but in the courage to course correct as you go. Third, dialogue with your shadow. When you feel fear, write it down. Ask it, what is the worst that could happen? Naming the fear diminishes its power. Fourth, develop small victories against perfectionism. Do something in a good enough way. Each small win builds new pathways in the brain that challenge the paralysis. Remember, imperfect action always outweighs perfect inaction. Perfectionism may look like a virtue, but it's often fear in disguise. Confronting that fear is the only way to live an authentic life and unlock your true power.